The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
The Derbyshire Dales series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Hello folks, welcome back to the Derbyshire Dales once again. Now, according to my sources, this village has got a reputation for being quite cold. I can confirm though that today that's not the case because the sun's up, it's shining brightly, and I've got the shorts on. It's quite warm actually, so whoever wrote that must have done so in the winter time. I wonder what this place looks like in the winter time, actually being sited as it is on a hilltop. This is the lovely little village of Elton. Elton, Eel Farm. Today in the Dales we come to Elton, a village that sits on a hillside overlooking the Robin Hood Stride rock formation which we saw back in the Harthill episode. It lies on the division between Derbyshire's gritstone and limestone countryside, and as such it has buildings constructed using both of them. It's a popular destination for cyclists and tourists, despite the fact there are no shops here. The nearest is in Winster, just over a mile away, and the nearest major shopping centres are in Bakewell and Matlock. It does have a pub though called the Duke of York, as well as a church, a school, a village hall and a playing field. The Limestone Way passes through Elton too, making this another village where you're likely to see hikers and ramblers on the regular, as well as those Peak District cyclists, particularly at the weekends. At 271 metres above sea level, Elton is less sheltered from the wind than settlements at lower elevations, and it therefore has a reputation for being cold. The highest point in the parish is on Elton Moor. Known as Blake Low, that's 330 metres above sea level and features a trig point from which you can see as far afield as Kinder Scout and Mam Tor. Industrially, Elton was another lead mining village, but as we know from yesterday, it also had a role to play in the production of cheese after the decline of sheep farming in the late 19th century. In all, it's a pretty little village, and our walking route around it is laid out in a neat elongated circle. So, come with me again through another beautiful Dales village and let's learn a bit more about the little gem that is Elton. Let's go. This is Elton, one of the lesser known Dales villages in the grand scheme of things, despite the fact that prehistoric travellers would have passed through it using the Derbyshire Portway. Being off all the through roads crossing the limestone uplands of the peak, it's quite easy to ignore Elton, but as a Michelin guide might say, it's well worth the diversion. This was a lead mining village, and most of its residents historically were the lead miners who sought the scant riches from beneath the local fields. Elton has existed in one form or another for at least 5,000 years, but its first official record was in the Domesday Book, where 18 families made their living from farming the upland pastures. Elton's largest farm, Oddo, is to the southwest of the village. That's the farm from which milk produced by its cattle herd was turned into cheese at the factory down the hill in Gratton. Today, following the gradual amalgamation of most of the farms in the district, there are now only 5 of them, and they mainly concentrate on milk production. The village took its name from the first recorded farmer, Elfwine, who was better known as Ella. He owned a small farm here in around the 8th or 9th century. The first settlers who followed Ella built farmsteads along Well Street, where there was a small spring. This would eventually join up with what would become Main Street. Gradually, a village of pleasant stone cottages spread along Main Street and Back Lane. 2 short lanes called Stonefoot and Ivy Lane connect those 2 streets together. The vast majority of properties became farm labourers' homes. Many of them combined farming with part-time mining and lived in the roughly triangular-shaped main part of Elton. Most of the houses in and around the centre of Elton date from the 17th and 18th centuries and are probably built on older foundations. Most have been built with locally quarried stone. This is mainly gritstone from Birchover Quarry across the valley. So this is Ivy Lane, which contains a group of terraced cottages. Despite being comparatively modern, they are unique due to the fact they were built during World War II. They weren't for lead miners, these were for agricultural workers who were an essential part of the war effort. At the end of Back Lane, we meet Moor Lane, where there's a few holiday lets. One of them is called Elton Guest House. That makes use of a 17th century farmhouse, which has also seen service in recent years as the village shop, a post office and a cafe. Facing it is Home Dean Farm. Dating from at least the 17th century, it had a fashionable facade added in the 18th century. Okay, so where Moor Lane meets the main road through Elton, you'll find the one and only pub that this place has. Now, the lead miners around here had a few wacky ideas. One of them was that beer was able to somehow help them. Elton only has one pub these days, but there were at least two more in times gone by. The sole survivor today is the Duke of York. Built in the 19th century, the Duke of York is a Grade 2 listed structure. It has an interior that's been unchanged since the 1940s, and that makes the pub a tourist attraction in its own right. The pub, standing across the road from the church, once had some rather odd opening times, but nowadays it's open most evenings and on Sundays too. Pubs in Elton and other surrounding villages were often frequented by lead miners who held the belief, rather ambitiously, that beer cured lead poisoning. Now, I don't believe that theory for 1 minute, but I do know beer can cure a few ailments. Anything can be an excuse to stop for a pint, if you think about it. Next, we're heading to the former Primitive Methodist Chapel, which marks the point where we'll turn around and start to head back to the other end via Main Street. Most of the landmarks in Elton, though, are on this road, so we're not done with this village yet by a long way. The Primitive Chapel was built in 1843, and as a place of worship it lasted almost into the 21st century. It was closed at some point after 1995. On old maps of 1976, it's labelled as Bethel Methodist Church. Now it's a private house. It's not the only religious building in Elton, as we're about to see. So there's another religious building to see in a moment, but I want to draw your attention to this house here you can see behind me, because that is quite notable. It's between the two chapels, the one you've just seen and the one you're about to. There's a blue plaque on the wall underneath that top window there, and that tells you about Alfred Gregory, Everest photographer, 1953. Apparently he lived in that very house. This is the village hall. You can probably tell just by looking at it that this too was a religious building originally. Indeed it was. It was both a Wesleyan Chapel and a Sunday school. An old stone tablet on the wall above the porch is inscribed with the words Wesleyan Methodist Chapel and Sunday School 1831. A plaque above that reads Elton Village Hall 1982. So, logically, we can glean from those pieces of information that the chapel closed at some point between those two dates. When that was is unclear, but it was definitely still a chapel at the beginning of the 20th century. Now it's Elton's only communal building. Turning left into Well Street now, we come face to face with the old rectory. Built in 1838, it was the birthplace of the suffragist Rhoda Garrett. Hawthorne Cottage at the bottom of Well Street is thought to stand on the site of the medieval manor house, and if so, it could be one of the oldest houses in Elton. The well that gives the street its name stands outside Hawthorne Cottage. At one time it was the only source of drinking water for the village until it was declared unfit and replaced by piped water. Elton's first water supply dates from 1877 when William Ashmore Sheldon linked a spring near Spouthouse Cottage in Gratton. Well Street Farm was once an inn until it became a Quaker meeting house for many years. Now, to end this particular part of the walk, we're forming a loop around the street which ends up in the churchyard, or at least that was the theory. Well, I thought it ended up in the churchyard. I thought there was a gate but as it turns out there isn't. I had to just jump over the wall here outside this bungalow, which wasn't easy because it was quite steep, but nonetheless we are now in the churchyard, as you can see, and the church is just behind those trees. The present church building, which is dedicated to All Saints, dates from the early 1800s, replacing a much older medieval chapel whose spire collapsed in a storm. It's thought that it had been weakened by miners illegally digging too close to its foundations when following a potentially rich vein of lead. There's a curious story that links Elton's church to Yolgrave's, or at least its font. You'll recall we mentioned the font in Monday's episode when we were in Yolgrave. Dating from Saxon times, the font with its attached stoop to hold holy oil was dumped outside the church by workmen when the place was being renovated. Once the new church was ready, no one thought about taking the font back inside, and it slowly began to disappear beneath the weeds. Yolgrave's curate happened to spot the font lying there unappreciated, and so he sought to make use of it. It was moved without due ceremony, and to this day holds pride of place near Yolgrave's door. This didn't please everyone. Whilst Yolgrave's folk were happy about it, Elton's were incensed. After realising their loss, they asked for it to be returned, but they were told in no uncertain terms that it was now Yolgrave's, and there was nothing they could do about it. Their solution was to make a brand new one, a copy made by local masons. It just goes to show the phrase "use it or lose it" applies to just about everything. Well, I guess in the church is as good a place as any to leave a TVI card. I've not yet seen a parish notice board, so we'll do it in here. So yeah, hopefully people will notice this and realise there's a video of Elton on YouTube. To be honest with you, there's quite a bit in this church about the history of the village. There's loads of little information leaflets and things which I walked past on my way into this building. So clearly people know a lot about it already. Well, now, you never know, maybe I found something a little bit more that they didn't know about. Who knows? Next, we have Elton C of E Primary School, which was built in 1862. This is one of the smallest schools in Derbyshire, usually having no more than 30 pupils. Most children taught here go on to Highfield School in Matlock, or sometimes Lady Manners School in Bakewell. In Elton, they're taught in 2 classrooms. In addition, the school also has an overflow room in the attached former schoolmaster's house next door. That's used every day except Thursdays, when instead it becomes a post office. Next up, as we venture back along Main Street towards the start, is the 18th century homestead farm. This was once the home of William Joule. He was a relative of James Prescott Joule, the physicist whose laws determined the relationship between heat and electrical energy. As mentioned previously, the Duke of York is the only remaining pub in Elton these days, but at one time there were 2 more pubs in Elton that could slake all those lead miners' thirsts. These were the Nelson's Arms and the Red Lion, and the latter of those is on your screens now. It may have been erected on the site of an earlier inn, or so it's believed. Records of it go back to 1829 when Thomas Cadman was named as the innkeeper in that year's edition of Glover's Directory. Although its modern address puts it on Ivy Lane, the Red Lion was previously recorded in censuses as being on Town Street, the main artery of the village. Today, we know Town Street as Main Street. In the early 2000s, the old Red Lion was the residence of Dale and Vicky McQueen, and if you wandered past, you might have caught a really nice smell on the air. Emanating from their kitchen window would often be the mouth-watering aroma of oven-fresh gluten-free pies, cakes and other goodies that Vicky was baking. They've since moved to Callander in Dale's native Scotland via the larger kitchen of the Oakover Arms in Mappleton, where they now occupy their time distilling gin. Okay, we're almost all the way around the village, believe it or not. It's not a very big place, this. Our next landmark is on the corner of Stonefoot. It's this house here. The building on the corner of Stonefoot is Elton Old Hall, which dates from 1668. For many years, it was a popular youth hostel. It was run by a delightful, motherly lady known countrywide as Mrs. Marshall, who always had a friendly welcome. Our final stop on the walk is the sports field. This doubles up as a football pitch and a cricket field, depending on the time of year. The locals know this alternatively as the Jubilee Field because it was created in 1977, the year of Queen Elizabeth II's Silver Jubilee. Its existence is as a result of a village committee raising funds to create a recreational space for the community, and they did a mighty fine job. Elton Cricket Club has a policy that only villagers may join the team. Moderately successful on the whole, the team have finished runners-up in the Longston League and Orme Shield twice. The football team aren't bad either. In 2006, Elton FC rose from Division 8 to Division 4 of the Chesterfield Sunday League, winning the Division 7 title in 2008 and the Hudson Cup in 2007. And that's really it, people. From here, it's just a simple case of trotting back to the car. Now, when I made the Harthill episode, the last time I came into the Dales, I finished off by driving through Elton Village to go back home. And I knew then that this was going to be a beautiful little place to cover. And you know what? I couldn't have picked a better day to do it. Folks, that will do us for the parish of Elton. I have to say that despite being located at such a high elevation and having a reputation for being cold, I didn't feel all that chilly. Mind you, that's probably something to do with the time of year. Let's see how cold it is in the next one. Join me down the road tomorrow for the last in this latest Dales run. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.